Coach, good morning. How are you? What a great weekend for you, your family, and the LSU football team.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, it was unbelievable, to be there as a dad, as a fan, as a former coach, to be in that atmosphere and see a great game. So happy that I was able to be there with my wife and family.
Give me the emotion in the lead up there of that college football game with your son as the centerpiece, just as his father. What was the emotion of last week in the build up to that game?
Well, you start getting a little nervous energy as the game approaches, and we were invited to a tailgate, so we started that, and you just get to be so anxious and ready for a kickoff. Just once the kickoff happens, you kind of get back to normal. But leading up to the game is probably the worst part for me. But just the excitement that surrounded that stadium. I was concerned about getting in the line to get our tickets because it was just a mess. And we fortunately we started the process early to get over there, and it was confusing to the people who actually worked there about what was going to happen as far as getting your tickets and all that. But we made it, and I like to watch Joe warm up, so we got there in time to do that. So it was all good.
Did you have a feeling in watching him in warm up and maybe talking to him last week that he was going to play up to the standard that he had set up to that point this season, and the way that he did on Saturday? I mean, he was the top performer on that field.
Well, I knew he was confident. I get a good feeling of that during the course of the week, and he thought that they could score points and move the ball, and but that's pretty much the way he's been all year. And he knew Alabama had a great defense, but just he's so confident right now in his teammates and in the scheme that he went in that game with that same confidence he pretty much has all year.
I want to talk to you about after the game. I mean, there's so many moments I want to ask you about, but one of the really special videos to come out of this, Jimmy, was when they got back to Baton Rouge at the airport, and hundreds of people are lining the fence, and Joe runs over, he's giving him high fives. What was your reaction when you saw that?
Just so fortunate that the LSU fans have taken to Joe and this whole team as much as they have. It's a great fan base, and didn't see Joe, kind of give back a little, even though it was just a little run down the fence and putting his hand on the fence. That's a special time, and that's the good thing about social media. We'll have that video for the rest of our lives, and it'll be a big part of what Joe remembers about LSU.
And so I guess get back to the game itself, Coach. You've coached a lot of football. You've watched a lot of great players. What was your interpretation of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's performance Saturday?
Unbelievable. I mean, he's just a warrior out there. I think probably going into the season he was underestimated. I don't see how anybody cannot say now he's one of the best backs in college football. I know Joe gets a lot of awards, but I would bet that he's most happy that he was able to share that with Clyde. Even another step forward, he'd probably prefer Clyde just to have been named that himself.
Yeah.
But to get recognition is great, because I think the people that know football know how important he is to LSU's offense and to that team, and he's a leader just like Joe out there. So it's a special player that did special things in a big time game.
Defensively, LSU's performance is a bit odd because it almost looked better than maybe the final stats would indicate. What did you see out of the Tigers defensively?
Well, anytime you're playing one of those big games like that, you tend to look at things maybe you shouldn't, and that's yardage and things like that. But as a coach, we always tried to look at the explosive plays on defense, and by that I mean big third down stops, big fourth down stops, the interception, pressures, and they made a lot of plays that really allowed the offense to get back on the field, allowed the offense to have more opportunities, and so the stats aren't the defining moment for a defense during the course of the game, and so they did a good job. I'm sure there were some things that didn't go as well as they had hoped, and you look at that and try to fix whatever that was. But they made enough big plays to really be a factor in that football game.
Do you feel like your son secured the Heisman Trophy on Saturday?
I don't like to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's to be in that position is a little overwhelming, really, to our family. But again, it's a credit to that whole team and the offense and the coaches and anytime you're up for a big award like that, you certainly know that it's not. Yeah, it might be individual, but there's a lot of people that have gone into getting Joe in that position. So just have to keeping the eye on the prize, and that's as far as Joe's concerned and the team, the national championship and conference championship, and they keep moving in that direction. Then all those individual awards are going to rack up at the end of the year, and that's not just for Joe. That's for a lot of those guys on both sides of the ball.
It did seem like this team did not accomplish any single goal on Saturday night. Yeah, that was a part of the process, but it definitely didn't seem like the season ended with a win over Alabama. I mean, the leadership, whether it's Orgeron or Joe or the coaching staff, has really done a really good job of kind of keeping this group very focused on the prize at hand. Do you see that from being in locker rooms and being a coach yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's you have goals during the course of early in camp, and you try to keep focused on that. And I think that's one of the strengths of Coach Orgeron is to in his words, block out the noise. I'll use his kind of catchphrase there, and keep those guys focused during the course of the week. There's a lot of character on that football team, and that's what allows you to focus on the task at hand is just great character and great leadership. And Coach Orgeron and that staff are doing a great job, making sure that they're looking at the next game, not down the road. And yeah, you enjoy that game and certainly feel good and happy for yourself and the team, but you gotta quickly change your mindset and get ready for Ole Miss.
Coach, Gary Danielson made the reference in the game during the broadcast. I don't know if you've seen the TV copy yet, but he said that there were all 32 teams represented as far as watching that game, whether it be scouts, general managers, or decision makers at that LSU-Bama game. And he said he was walking the halls before and it said that the message had changed from tanking for Tua, to bombing for Burrow, that he potentially could be the number one pick in the draft. Cincinnati looks like they are going to finish winless.
Zach Taylor's doing his best.
Do you guys ever kind of get thinking on he could be playing pro ball in that part of the country for you guys with the Bengals? I know that's way far ahead, but people are starting to discuss that. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I hear it, and again, I got a lot of time on my hands, so I read a lot of things. So I see it all, and you hear it back in Ohio just because we're
sure 2.5
hours away. But I really never talked to Joe about that, and I think truly it's one of the last things on his mind. You don't have any control over who's going to draft you. I guess if you did, you'd think more about it, but you just have to keep playing if you're Joe and let the chips fall where they may. To be in the position that he is and even be talked about the draft by a lot of different people is really a blessing to all of us, because going into the season you go, well, I hope he plays well enough to get drafted, and there's a lot of guys on that football team because of the success they have that's going to be in a good position to get drafted. I mean, I heard that there were over 20 first-round draft choices on that field Saturday, counting the young guys that aren't eligible for the draft. So it was a big-time football game with big-time players, and you're going to see a lot of those guys' names when the draft happens this year.
In a season that has been filled with cool moments for you and your family, I imagine this weekend going to Ole Miss with your son as the starting quarterback for LSU is pretty cool. A place that you played and where you and your family are from.
Yes, I'm actually down in Amory, Mississippi, about an hour and 20 minutes from Oxford. Right now, I came here after the game Saturday night, and that's about 90 miles from Tuscaloosa. You probably know my brother played at Ole Miss. My sister graduated from Ole Miss. I went there for a year, so we've purchased the tailgate at Ole Miss. Got a lot of family and friends. I've actually heard from a few former teammates way back then, which I haven't heard from probably since the day I walked out the door there and transferred to Nebraska. So just another big game for our family, and the good thing about it is my brother and my sister graduated from Ole Miss, but they'll have their LSU gear on for this game Saturday. That's for sure.
Nice. How was the Alabama fans to you?
They were good. I mean, there was a couple of signs there that people were holding up during our tailgate that we probably didn't think was too cool. But my wife actually went over to one of them and said, "Hey, I'm Joe Burrow's mom. We might as well get a picture with you in this sign." So it was all in good spirit. And then afterwards, I mean, we were walking around and they were just real complimentary of LSU's football team. So we were treated pretty good.
Enjoy this weekend in the Grove back home. Thank you for your time as always. We'll talk to you next week, Coach.